Manual cars are being phased out. The future of driving doesn't involve using a clutch pedal and changing gears with a gear stick. That is true. But is it still worth learning how to drive a manual car? Well, if you want to spend less money and have more choice, then it's absolutely worth learning how to drive manual. At least it is in Great Britain. You may have heard that the majority of cars on sale in Great Britain now are automatic. And that's true. Around about 80% of new cars are automatic. But the key words in that statement are new cars. And the majority of people who are passing their driving test are not going out and buying new cars. The majority of my pupils who pass the driving test are buying cars that are worth less than about £5,000. In fact, £5,000 seems to be the upper end of the budget for cars that they're buying. A lot of them buy cars for a lot less than £5,000. The trouble is, if your budget for a car only stretches to an older car and you need an automatic, you have far less choice. The automatic you're going to buy is probably not going to be a very good one, and the manual equivalent of that automatic with the same mileage and the same age is likely going to cost quite a bit less. I've got some figures. I've been on Auto Trader and I've seen how many cars are for sale that are under £5,000. When I checked, it was 64,704 cars. That's a lot of cars. 22% of them were automatic. That's 11,909. Again, a lot of cars, nearly 12,000 cars. But remember, they are spread out across the country. Not all of them are near you. So you've got probably a far lower number that you can actually choose from that are near you. But there is a bigger problem. Most of these cars that are under £5,000 and automatic weren't first car material. They were expensive to insure. Big, heavy, old, high mileage, expensive to repair, probably going to need a lot of repairs. Not a good first car. So I changed the search criteria to try and only include cars that would be a suitable first car. That dropped the figures significantly. Still a £5,000 budget, but that dropped the number of cars available to 2,389. Spread out across the country, that's not many, and it was only 8.8% of cars that are under £5,000 that I consider suitable first car material. Or in other words, if you have a budget of £5,000 and you want a first car, on Auto Trader when I checked, 91.2% of suitable first cars under £5,000 were manual. Only 8.8% were automatic. Another problem is out of those 8.8% of cars that were automatic, many of them weren't good automatics. In fact, they are cars I would rather avoid. We're talking single clutch robotised manuals and belt driven CVTs. Now you may not know what I've just said, but let me put it this way. One type is you don't have a clutch or a gear stick. No, you don't want that. You want an automatic. Instead, that's under the bonnet being controlled by a robot. That robot is trying to predict, are you going to speed up? Are you going to slow down? How much are you going to speed up by? How much are you going to slow down by? It predicts wrong quite often, leading to a very jerky driving experience. And when you want to get going, things can be delayed, frustratingly so. And the other type, the CVT, the continuously variable transmission, the belt-driven type, not to be confused with the newer hybrid systems, the eCVT, which can be quite good. Those older ones, well, they're very noisy, although I do have to give them credit for being efficient. But a problem both these gearboxes have in common with each other, and it's not for all of them, but for many of them, is that they can be unreliable. And when they go wrong, they cost a lot to put right. So out of those 8.8% of automatics, which were under £5,000 and suitable as a first car, I'm struggling to recommend many. I've scrolled through them and most of them seem to have a problem. And there is another problem. The percentage of people who are learning to drive in an automatic and getting an automatic only license is increasing more quickly than the availability of cheap automatic cars which are suitable as a first car. Cheap to insure, low cost cars. Ironically, that's pushing the price up of the affordable automatic. There are too many people and not enough cars to go around. That's pushing the prices of those affordable cars up, making them less affordable. And when you compare them to their manual equivalents, the manuals, well, they are much cheaper. Of course, if you were to buy a Toyota Supra manual, that may not be cheaper, but remember, I am talking about affordable first cars which are cheap to insure. Manuals tend to be far cheaper. Here are some figures you may find interesting. I'm going to tell you what percentage of driving tests in Great Britain were automatic from 2012 to 2024. So in 2012, 6.1% of driving tests conducted, not passed, conducted, were automatic. Let's go through the years. So 2013, 6.4, then 6.9, 7.5, 8.1, 9.5. I'm in 2018 now, that's 11.1, 12.6, 13.7, 15.7. In 2022, 19.1, 2023, 23.4, and the last year I have full data for, 2024, 26% of tests conducted were automatic. So over a quarter of tests conducted were actually automatic last year. But strangely enough, that doesn't mean that over a quarter of tests that were passed were automatic, because the automatic driving test actually has a lower pass rate. I have a video all about that up there. Now you may be thinking that I'm against automatic and that I'm trying to persuade you to learn manual. That's not the case. I actually spend a lot of time myself driving an automatic. The reason why I'm making this video is because I understand what I'm explaining in this video isn't necessarily common knowledge. When many people are deciding between automatic or manual, well, many people think automatic's the future. I'll learn automatic. But that's the future, not now. At the moment, there are implications to learning automatic, especially if your budget for a car means you're going to be buying an older car. If you've got a lower budget for a car, and actually even what I would consider a fairly healthy budget for a first car, about £5,000, I think that's quite a lot of money for a first car. What do you think? Not many of my people spend more than that. If you're spending that or less on your first car, that budget is going to stretch nowhere near as far if you're looking for an automatic than it would if you're looking for a manual. You're going to get a younger car in better condition with lower miles. It's probably going to cost you less to run. Also, not everyone is aware of the insurance implications. Did you know that if you have an automatic only license, you're approximately, on average, 19% more likely to make a claim? Now, you can argue why. No one really knows the facts. I've got my opinion. My opinion is, and this is as a driving instructor, this is where I get my opinion from, when you learn a manual, you are forced to forward plan. You do not get away with it. If you don't forward plan, you're not going to pass your driving test. In an automatic, you can forward plan, and I drive an automatic, and I do forward plan when I drive an automatic, but you can get away with more. You can be more of a reactive driver, yet still pass. And in my opinion, that's the reason why automatic only license holders are more likely to make a claim on their insurance. But that's my opinion, that's not fact. That might be wrong, but this is fact. Across the board, on average, if you have an automatic only license, you're going to pay approximately 40-something% more for your car insurance. How do I know this? I made a video all about it last year. Found it quite an interesting topic, so I looked into it, went into it in detail. I'll leave a link to that video up there. Right, this is just a little bit of fun, but 4 years ago I predicted that automatic driving tests will outnumber manual tests by 2037. I'm not going to use the word confident, but I am going to say I'm happy to maintain my prediction of 2037. I'm not basing it directly on government legislation. I'm taking that into consideration. I'm more basing it on used cars available, because most people who pass a driving test are buying a used car. So I'm happy to maintain my prediction. I'll leave a link to that video in the description. But why don't you let me know in the comments when you think in Great Britain automatic driving tests are going to outnumber manual driving tests? A guesstimation, should we say, and I'm going with 2037. I could be right, I could be wrong. 2037 automatic tests will outnumber manual tests. But you may not want to listen to me when it comes to predicting the future, because I remember when Facebook was new and I thought, that's not going to be very successful. Who wants to put pictures of their face online for everyone to look at? Oh. And now I'm making videos and posting them online. So what do I know about the future? But I do know the present. And I hope this video helps you make a more informed decision as to whether or not you learn in a manual or an automatic, and you're not just thinking automatic's the future, so that means it's the best thing to do now, because it may not necessarily be the case. If you found the video interesting or helpful, please give it a thumbs up. If you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, then Collingwood are there for you, because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy, and that takes away a big stress from the owner of that car that you're using to practice your driving in. Via the link at the moment, there's up to 35% off and a £20 gift card. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out the link to confused.com, because you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers to compare who's cheapest, and you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like to compare how much it costs to insure different cars. Quite relevant to this video. You can go on that website, put in your details, put in a car, and then keep changing the car, and you can see how much those different cars cost to insure without having to do the whole quote again. So it's a quick and easy way to compare the cost of insuring cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel, so thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos, and until the next one, cheerio. Just watching that back, I've realised there's something you need to know, and that is when you're comparing the cost of insuring different cars, if you have a provisional driving licence, the cost is going to be very different than when you pass. When you pass, the price is likely to go up quite a bit, and if you pass in an automatic, it's likely to go up even more. So bear that in mind when you're comparing the price of insuring different cars. Bear in mind what license type you put in, because that's going to make a difference to the price also.